Welcome back to Sportsbook Review Videos. It is week number 5, and it is finally time for me to release my team and player prop picks for the weekend from Bet365 Sportsbook. I've already given you 3 team props from Bet365, but here are my player props. I think all of these have very nice value this week, and we'll start off with Eddie Lacy, who has an over-under for rushing yards in this one at 75.5. Now, I think the Packers are going to have some success offensively against the St. Louis Rams. However, running the football is probably not where it's going to be. Eddie Lacy's not exactly the guy that can bust off a 30 or 40-yard run and outrun someone here for a huge gain. He's really a plotter at this point in his career, and I think that his speed, at least downhill speed, is probably not as good, especially against a very quick Rams defense. So I think Eddie Lacy is probably going to get bottled up a little bit. The Packers were going to have to throw the ball, I think, if they're going to want to beat the Rams. Not going to have 75.5 rushing yards this week. I'm going to go under at minus 125. Next one up is Matt Ryan, who has an over-under for passing yards at 287.5. Now, despite the fact that the Falcons have been very good offensively over the last couple of weeks, Ryan would have actually went under the last 2 weeks for this yards total. But I think this week's going to be a little bit different just because they're playing the Washington Redskins with a very good run defense, but a very shoddy secondary. And I think the Falcons are going to have to throw the ball a little bit more than they have been over the last 2 weeks. They've been pounding the ball with Devontae Freeman, who's been doing a spectacular job and should still see a lot of carries in this one. But I think in the end, they're going to utilize Julio Jones, Roddy White, Leonard Hankerson, those guys a little bit more this week. I'm going to go with over 287.5 passing yards for Matt Ryan at minus 130. Now, finally, Matt Forte actually comes in as my receiving yards prop this week. He has receiving yards total of 36.5 this week against the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think that's absolutely an overplay. The only time he wouldn't have cashed it in week 1, as he actually was getting a little bit more success rushing the football against the Packers. Of course, he didn't have any receiving yards against the Seattle Seahawks with Luke McCown starting, but in the other 2 games where he's actually had Jay Cutler, in two out of three games, that he's had Jay Cutler so far this season, he would have gone over this in these yards total for receiving yards. And I think it's absolutely where he's going to go here against this very, very questionable Kansas City secondary. I think you're going to see Forte catch a lot more passes this week than normal, especially with Cutler back in there potentially and ready to go at 36.5 receiving yards. I'm going to go with over here for Matt Forte. And that'll do it for your player prop odds. Make sure you check out my team props as well this week. But until then, for Sportsbook Review, I'm Jordan Sharp.